Today we're excited to demonstrate an alpha version of Phoenicia. This is still under heavy development, and not all of the features have been implemented yet, but there's enough here to show you how the app will work and how it will teach children how to read. The images and audio that you'll see are all placeholders. They'll be replaced with professional quality assets later in the development cycle. One of the newest features to land in Phoenicia is support for multiple Locale Packs. Locale Packs are Phoenicia's way of supporting different languages and locations to be specific to a child's needs. Locale Packs support different languages, but they also define the level progression that the user will go through. They provide the alphabet and set of target words that will be used during the game, and all of the audio recordings for letters, words, and level introductions, as well as all of the graphics for letters, words, and the map itself. You can have multiple Locale Packs per language. For instance, if you want to have a Spanish Locale Pack for Mexico, it can be different from a Spanish Locale Pack for Spain. You could even have it for different demographics within the same country, so you could have different assets and even accents between inner city and rural children. It's important to note that you can write a new Locale Pack without changing any of the code in Phoenicia itself. You don't even have to recompile it. This makes it easy for others, who are not necessarily developers, to contribute to the game. Let's get started. With Phoenicia, we've taken a game-based learning approach. To do this, we've developed a really fun-to-use game that will teach children as they play it. One of our philosophies is to do one thing and do it well. So instead of having multiple different things, we only have the one game, and we've packed all of the features that we need into it.
Welcome to Phoenicia.
Every level starts with an introduction. It contains both written and audio information for the user. This serves as a guide for the player as they progress through the game. It also gives them praise as they finish a level and instructions on how to proceed.
Use the letter images at the bottom of your screen to start planting with the letter A.
You'll notice that the game is very similar to Farmville, or any of the other versions of that game that exist for Android and iOS already. These games have proven that the user experience is easy to learn and holds the user's interest over the long term. We want players to keep coming back to Phoenicia, so this is a good approach for us. The concepts of the game can also be easily adapted to teaching literacy. In the same way that in Farmville you would grow crops and put them together to produce goods, in Phoenicia you will grow letters and you'll put them together to form words. Letters act like building blocks, such as Lego, that the children can easily rearrange to try different things. They also combine both visual, audio, and typographical representations of both the letters and the words, so the player gets to see all three at the same time. And most importantly, building words and reading them is part of the game itself. They're the fun part. It's not something separate that the user has to do in order to get to something fun. As you can see, at the very start of the game we start out small, with just one letter. This lets us control how the player progresses through the game without overwhelming them to begin with.
A. Great job. Now that you've grown some A's, let's try planting some T's.
When you collect a letter, it goes into your inventory. This gives letters and even words an actual physical representation that the user can think about when they're putting them together. As you can see, every level starts out with a different introduction. They also define their own passing requirements. So for that first level, there is only a requirement to gather a single letter, and then as soon as your player does that, it advances them to the next level. Levels can define all sorts of requirements, from gathering certain letters or certain quantities of letters, to collecting certain quantities of words, gaining a certain number of experience points, or even combinations of all of these. Levels let us keep the player's interest and keep them coming back for more, as they know that something good is going to be introduced in the next level after the one they're currently playing. Levels also give the Locale Pack authors control over the learning process, so they could introduce new concepts at a pace that works for them, and introduce concepts in a different order for different languages, depending on that language's specific needs. It also lets us expand the functionality and what's available to the player as their abilities increase and they become familiar with what's already been introduced. Let's build a couple other letters now.
Ta, a, ah.
You'll notice that when you tap a growing letter, it gives a audio representation of that. That can go away as the player gets familiar with the letter, so it doesn't keep coming back up when they don't need that help anymore.
Now you're getting it. Let's grow some C's, and you'll have enough letters to start building something. Use the word images to build a cat factory.
Alright, now we're growing all of the letters that we need. Now it's time to start building words. To do that, we put them together in specific buildings that are designed to build those specific words. In this case, we're going to build a cat. Each of the word factories has its own definition for how long it takes to build, both the building itself and the words that will be built with them. The same with letters, so you can define how long it takes to build them, and then make it harder to get letters that are less common, and easier to get the more common ones. This is all configured in the Locale Pack, so you can change it depending on the specific needs of your language. Now we can try and build a letter, but we don't have any C's. We need to go and collect that before we can start building.
C.
Now we have enough letters, we'll try putting them together.
Ta,
If we do it wrong,
ka.
it doesn't penalize the user. We want users to experiment and try out different combinations if they're not sure what the right way of doing it is.
Ka, ah, ta.
Cat.
Yay! Building words from letters is what Phoenicia is all about.
Once you've built a word properly, those letters are taken out of your inventory, but the word itself is added to it.
Here's a new letter, H. You can use it with your other letters to build the word hat.
Now you get an experience for how Phoenicia is going to work. There's still a lot to do. We plan on adding, in the near future, a marketplace where the users can sell their letters and words to earn in-game currency, which they can then use to buy other things. We're also going to allow them to define words without a specific word factory, so that they can try spelling words they haven't been exposed to yet in the game. Finally, we plan on adding the ability to add decorative tiles to your map, so that you can customize it and create your own town how you want it to be. And lastly, we'll introduce mini-games, which lets you get extra practice on specific things that you need help with, as well as earn extra in-game points and currency that you can use to build other buildings and tiles. We're also going to include a major overhaul of the video, the graphics, and the audio that you see in the game. As I mentioned before, these are all just placeholders. The final results will be much better quality. Now let's try out the Swahili version. Users won't have to do this in the field trial. We'll ship with just one language for them, and it'll automatically load up into that game. But we do plan on supporting multiple players per device. To do that, each player will get their own session, so a child and their younger sibling can both play at their own pace, using their own specific session. The first thing you'll notice is that the Swahili version looks somewhat different from the English one. That's because the Swahili Locale Pack has defined different assets for some of the features that are in it. But the game mechanics are all going to be the same, and they'll work regardless of what language or Locale Pack you're using. This allows you to customize the look of the game to match where the child actually lives. There's no sense in having a bunch of barns and green grass if the child's living somewhere that doesn't have that. We want Phoenicia to look familiar to the player. It gives them a sense of belonging to it. I mentioned that the gameplay is the same, but the actual levels are going to be different. So in this case, instead of starting out with A's, you'll start out with the letters that are going to let you build Swahili words instead of the English ones. You can reuse the same assets, or you can create your own for your specific locale pack. You'll see here that we reused some of the plant assets, but we've got a different one for chickens and also for our marketplace building here. You can also introduce the words in different orders so that you can pick the words that are right for your language to start out with. You don't have to replace everything. You can reuse parts from other locale packs if you want to. For example, if you're building a separate Spanish locale pack for a different country, you might still want to use a lot of the same words. You'll just want different audio recordings that represent the accent that your player is familiar with. Let's collect some letters and we'll try building a chicken here.
Ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh. Cuckoo.
Now that you've seen the way Phoenicia works, if you're interested in getting involved, we'd love to have your help. Phoenicia is already developed as an open source app and is on GitHub for anybody to access the source code and try it out themselves. We're also open to having anybody contribute to the project in any way that suits them. But specifically, we need help writing new locale packs. We're going to focus on English and Swahili for the XPRIZE contest, but we have opened it up to anybody who wants to contribute to other languages. Again, you don't have to be a developer to do this. Anybody can supply assets in graphics or audio recordings, or even just help define what order to introduce letters and words. We're also always on the lookout for new testers. If you have an early literacy age child and you want to give it a try, we'll gladly get you an early copy of the game that you can install on your tablet to try out. Any feedback you can provide us is always welcome. And finally, we need test writers. We plan on having this fully tested so that nothing will break unexpectedly in the future. We hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and if you have any questions or feedback for us, our contact information will be displayed after this video. Thank you.